Hey, I'm live. How you doing there? This is Arthur Hasher from Libertas Real Estate, and some great and urgent, blah, blah, blah. All the little flags are coming up, but everything is going up right now, and this way you can see what's going on, and maybe people will come on board and watch what's going on. But this came just down from the National Association of Realtors, and it says, in summary, this is just a urgent thing that we got from our brokerage, and every brokerage is going to have the same thing. Every brokerage is really going to have the same thing going on, and it's insane what's going to happen right now and going into the summer. In summary, a BBA and a BBA is a buyer broker agreement will be required if you desire to receive compensation when representing a buyer. So what's happening is, and this is the reason why this is happening with our brokerage, and it's going to happen with all the brokerages. And this came down from the National Association of Realtors. Dear fellow members, the Sitzer Bennett verdict and a copycat case filed across the country have raised questions about the way real estate professionals do their jobs and how consumers can hire and compensate us. Since the litigation began, we have worked consistently to reach a resolution with the plaintiffs. In the months since the verdict, we doubled those efforts. We have always wanted to reduce significant strain on our members and provide a path forward for the industry. That's why today we announced a proposed settlement agreement that would end litigation of claims brought on behalf of home sellers related to broker commissions. And you can read the whole thing and go on and everything like that. But here's the proposed settlement achieve both goals, and here are the key terms. And the first part of the terms is to release a liability. So that releases a liability from the whole thing and all the members and all the brokers and everything like that from the suit and everything like that. The second part is this is a big part. This is a really big part, and this is what caused probably the biggest issue, and I'll explain why as it's done. Compensation offers moved off the MLS, and National Social Realty has agreed to put in place a new ruling prohibiting offers of compensation on the MLS. Offers of compensation could continue to be an option consumers can pursue off the MLS, negotiation and consulting with real estate professionals, and sellers can offer buyer concessions on MLS, for example, concessions for buyer closings. This change will go into effect in mid-July, and this is if this is all approved. Now, let me explain that. What happens right now, and even though we had the buyer broker agreement, what happened is when a listing agent went in, and this is just me talking, but when a listing agent went in to take a listing, and they would sit down with the seller, they would negotiate whatever commission they would negotiate. We're not going to go over commission and how much to negotiate, but there would be a part in that agreement that had a paragraph that said that listing agent is going to compensate the broker agent that comes in and brings the buyer. Okay, that's okay. But you had the option of saying yes or no. The problem is, this was the problem, and this was always one of the biggest problems, is that it would show on the MLS. So now you have a buyer broker looking at the page, pulling out, let's say, 5 or 6 or 7 homes to show. And they would look down and they would say, okay, what is the seller offering me as commission? Well, to make it easier on the buyer broker, of course, they would look to see whatever the commission would be. But what if it was 0? Would the buyer broker show that house? And that was the question that came up. And that was a really big question that always came up. And that's why buyer broker agreements always had an issue. Because if it showed zero, if you had a bunch that showed whatever percentage, 3, 4, 2, 3, whatever it is, it could commission is always negotiable. But again, if you saw that, why would you show a house that had zero? And you'd have to negotiate your commission into the price. Another step you'd have to do. So when the listing agent went in, they would share this information, of course, with the seller and say, well, we have to offer something. But now you don't have to, because now it's not going to show. And that's the whole thing of it. That brings the competition back to the buyer broker agreement. And that was a good thing to do. Hey, it's changing a little bit, but I think that was a good thing to do. Also, written agreements for MLS participants acting as the buyers. This is the part where now you can have not your buyer coming out. The industry works this way. If you're a listing agent, and this is really the key to the whole list. This is the key that's going. If you're selling real estate, listing agents take time to get in there. That's where that was, because you had the agreement. You had the agreement, so you had all these buyer agents coming out and showing your house. So the listing agents where the money was and where the money is still. But the buyer agents didn't do agreements. So they really weren't, they were just customers. They weren't clients. They were just customers. And the buyers really didn't understand that where the fiduciary responsibility was. So there was a lot of in the middle there. And there's some stuff that's going to go on that I'll go over with you right now that's going to really rock the boat. Really, really rock the boat. So continuing, the written agreement. So while National Association of Realtors have been advocating for the use of the written agreements for years, in this settlement, we have agreed to require MLS participants working with buyers to enter into a written representation of buyer broker agreement with their buyers. This change will go into effect in mid-July. It's a great thing. The problem is, and here's where it's going to change totally. The buyer broker agreements that are out there are all different. There's nothing that's standardized as buyer broker agreements. There are some standard forms and there are some ones you can use. And then this brokerage may have this one and that brokerage may have that one, but they're all different. But again, they don't bring into account what if now I'm a buyer broker, now I'm a buyer broker and I'm showing homes and I work in the Sun City, Arizona area. What if I have 2, if not more, 3 buyer broker agreements and all want the same home? Where's my fiduciary responsibility? How do I bring that? This is going to happen. You know it's going to happen. How am I going to play one and take care of one and not take care of the other 2? Because it's going to happen. A nice house comes out in the area, right? You're working with, you have a buyer broker agreement, which means that agent, that buyer is working strictly with you under that agreement. And then you have somebody else, another buyer that's working strictly with you, and they both want the same house. We're gonna have this is going to be an issue that's going to come up over and over and over again. So the buyer broker agreements that I've seen so far, the buyer broker agreements that I've seen so far have been more tendency towards the brokerage than towards the buyer. And the buyer group agreement has to be more win-win, has to be for the buyer and protect the brokerage. It has to be both. And how do we get both? Well, that's what's going to happen as time goes on. So this is just a little inkling of what's happening in the real estate industry. And I think there's going to be a lot more going on, and you're going to hear a lot more noise and a lot more stuff that's happening. Anyway, Arthur Hasher with Libertas Real Estate out here in Arizona in the Sun City area. If you want more information, I'm always here to help and go through it. You can contact me at 623-986-0234. And if you're not one of my buyers that are going out there, you're going to go directly to voicemail, because I only have my buyers and my contacts, and my phone only rings for my contact and for the buyers that are in my contacts. So leave a message. I'll get back in touch with you, and we'll go from there. Again, Arthur Hasher, Libertas Real Estate, out here in Sun City, Arizona. Enjoy your day, and I have a lot more information that's going to come down the pipe. So you're going to want to keep informed and know what's going on. Have a great day. And this is Friday, the day after Pie Day. Did everybody enjoy that pie yesterday? 314. This is 315. And enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your great day. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Take care.